Good morning, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer. This is my quest for England. I don't know what's happened to England at the moment. I'm recording this on the Tuesday, which I think is the 25th of March. Last night Prime Minister said, Boris Johnson, that we are not allowed out of our houses, that we are effectively in lockdown. We can go out for walks once, or one bit of exercise. Not quite sure what that means really. Can you go out for one long, nice walk? You can't really drive anywhere unless you're going to work, which I don't understand quite why driving would be such a problem. Travel. Anyway, Julia and I are staying in a bed and breakfast at the moment to try and gather as much footage as we could in Hampshire, visiting the hangars. We've only had one day, and I did suspect that this lockdown thing was coming, but I thought we had a little bit longer before it actually happened. But it does seem now that we don't have any more time, which is going to be difficult for me to continue making the videos showing off this rather beautiful and fantastic countryside. I suppose one thing that this enforced lockdown has given nature in this country a bit of a respite from man's ever gobbling up and polluting activities, but it's a bit of a sorry state for those of us who love the country and want to get out in it and show it off to everybody. Let's just make sure this is actually recording. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah. I've got a little recorder on my side. So I thought just before the world gets up and the police are on every corner, on every doorstep, and the military are walking up and down the streets with their AK-50, whatever it is, and their Kalashnikovs or whatever they are, I would just take advantage to see what the countryside is like before we can't see it anymore. My worry, more than anything, I suppose, is that when you start locking people up and you're telling them they can't go out, there is going to be a lot of hardship, a lot of frustration and a lot of anger. And that anger, I think, in families, especially those in not very large houses, are going to boil over, and there's going to be terrible consequences. I think there'll be murders. There'll be divorces, of course. Oh, there's a car coming. There'll be suicides. There we are. It's probably the police doing a quick survey. There's a bloke out. They've noted me now, and they'll probably come back in a minute and say, why aren't you back inside? Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of difficulty and a lot of unrest. There'll be those that will chance their luck. There'll be those that flout the system. It's I think it's very difficult to make people prisoners of war without actually the guards outside your house. I was thinking about this last night, and I suppose, you know, you think in the Second World War, many of the British troops, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, they were arrested, put into camps, held for several years, not just 6 months. So it is, of course, you know, put it into perspective, it is all possible. But They're trained soldiers, aren't they? They're trained soldiers who have some sort of military discipline. You're talking about families with children who don't. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. This is a very beautiful part of the world. It's a beautiful morning. I've never had enough money to ever be able to buy into the countryside. You don't make a lot of money from YouTube unless you're incredibly popular and lucky. And I'm neither of those. But if you live somewhere like this, there's a few houses dotted around here. If you live up here in a farm or a house, or you've got the money, it's not going to be so bad as long as you've got the money in the bank and you can get to the supermarkets and buy your stuff. You're going to be okay. Not much will change really. Perhaps you can't go to the pub or the restaurant and all of that. But if you live in a town or a city or in a high-rise flat, suddenly it doesn't look quite so good, does it? It's a bit uglier. And I've often thought that this world that we're living in, this globalization world, globalized world, we've gone too far. If a tiny little bug can cancel everything right across the world, can take the joy out of life, what have we done to ourselves? And if you think over the past few 100 years, say 1,000 years I suppose, we've taken people off the land who used to work on the land, be connected to the land, hear the bird song in the morning, watch the dewdrops on the branches, see the leaves unfold, see the animals scooting through the hedgerows, listen to the pheasants and the wood pigeons and the rutting foxes, if foxes rut, and the deer, and all those things whilst they're working. But we take them off the land, all the people, and they're all in the towns and the cities. Only the rich can now afford to be in the countryside. Only people with money can afford to live there. And when you have a lockdown situation like this, only the more well off can not let it bother them. And the rest of us just have to put up with it. There's some pheasant in this field opposite me. You'd probably be too far away to see. Just in there, they're running around. They're either pheasant or grouse. I don't think they're probably not grouse, but in the old days you used to catch partridge in the fields. Well, I've got to walk back to the bed and breakfast. We've got to pack up and get out by 9 and head home. So I just wanted to record reflections in the morning. They're a bit miserable, aren't they? But we are in a very odd state. Very odd state. Somehow, I'm going to try and keep these videos coming. There may be videos that I've pulled out of the archive and talked about. There may be a chance to get out and escape up onto the South Downs. There may be the same bloody route each day, or it may just be me at home moaning and grumbling, but it's what I do, so that's what I'm going to carry on doing. Thank you for watching. Sorry it sounds a bit depressing, But I just thought I'd record my observations from this wonderful piece of countryside, and you know, what can you do? You can't blame the government, they're trying to help. Draconian methods, I don't know what the answer is, but it's an unfolding story. At least that's true. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll catch up with you soon. Take care. Don't forget to follow, like and subscribe. I do make my living from YouTube. If I can't make these videos, I can't pay my bills. So do consider becoming a patron or make a donation if you can. You're probably scrapped for cash yourself, because a lot of you may not be working either. You may be in similar closed down situations. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.